You know that I feel like I've been pushed into this.
Call the meeting to order. I ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into tonight's agenda, we're going to add an agenda item under new business. It'd be item B, a lien release against the property of 24108 Grass Lake Road. So we'll move on. First item is the consent agenda. Item A, approve the minutes of the City Council work session April 5th. Item 2, City Council regular meeting April 5th. Third item under there is Economic Development Authority meeting of January 20th. Item B, adopt resolution R-22-12 authorizing the mayor and city administrator to execute an airport maintenance and operation grant contract number 1047538 with the Minnesota Department of Transportation Office of Aeronautics for maintenance and operation activities at the Winston Municipal Airport for state fiscal year 2022 and state fiscal year 2023. Item C, authorize the city administrator to execute a quote from Computer Integration Technologies to provide services related to the annual cybersecurity and vulnerability scan for the city of Winston for an amount not to exceed $5,500. Item D, authorize the closure of 2nd Street North between Albert Avenue and Fairlawn Avenue on Friday, May 13th, 2022 from 12:30 until 2:30 p.m. in conjunction with the Winston Elementary Grandparents' Day celebration, and in case of inclement weather, authorize the closure in the same location and time span on the alternate date of Monday, May 16th, 2022. Item C, adopt resolution R-22-13 to accept a donation from Ram General Contracting Incorporated in the amount of $50 to be dedicated towards the 2022 Winston Police Department Bike Rodeo event. Item F, authorize the city administrator to initiate the advertising process to fill a permanent part-time administrative assistant position for the city of Winston. Item G, accept the voluntary resignation of Mr. Glenn Wimble as a member of the Winston Municipal Airport Commission effective March 14th of this year. Item H, approve the pledged securities that Security Bank and Trust Company has purchased for the city of Winston for the month of March 2022. Item I, approve the building permit report for the month of March 2022. Item J, approve the financial report for the month of February 2022. And the last item, K, approve the claims list for April 19th, 2022. That's the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, and I abstain from voting on item H.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under old business, tonight we're going to talk about general obligation street reconstruction note. We'll start with Adam.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. At our April 5th City Council meeting, the City Council authorized the contract for the 2022 street reconstruction project, reconstruction/maintenance project. This evening, we need to consider the financing or funding of said project. So I've asked Shan Sweeney of David Jones Associates to join us to discuss the proposed funding mechanism. Mr. Sweeney?
Sure. Thank you, Adam. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Ultimately, we had originally discussed with staff a competitive sale of bonds where we'd purchase a credit rating, draft an offering document, and solicit bids from underwriters for the purchase of the city's bonds. When the bids came back, I would say significantly lower than what the initial project cost was anticipated to be. And it looked like, something more in the magnitude of what's before you tonight, which is an $840,000 bond issue over a term of 15 years, which in our estimation is something that's more akin to or more efficiently done as a bank placement. In this instance was something that would be of our interest because one, interest rates are presently rising almost daily. Two,
Do you have any understanding of what the rate will be for this bond?
yes,
Okay,
you're awarding sale tonight at an interest rate, so I'll be getting to that.
sorry.
I had all this stuff to talk about how smart we were to come to
Jeez.
that conclusion. I can skip past that.
No, that's fine. Go ahead and earn your money.
I'll cut to the chase. We came to the conclusion that a bank placement was a good idea. We've recently had good experience in making bank placements as a city with our local bank. And I had suggested to Adam that that may be something he wanted to consider, and he directed me to explore that. And so I put together a schedule on what I thought was a fair rate and structure to present to the bank. At first, they suggested an interest rate that was slightly higher. I indicated to them that I thought it was reflective of the market and the city's creditworthiness, and they ultimately agreed and decided to purchase the bond issue at it's a 15-year term with a fixed interest rate of 3.1%.
Oh, shoot, I thought you were going to say one.
No, that was a year ago. That ship has sailed. And if we did this today, it'd probably be 3.2, 3.3%, and so it's even moved from when we asked them to fix this interest rate. So, sure.
Is the bond able to be refinanced?
It is. We have a call date of 2/1 of 29. So on February 1st of 29, we'd be able to refinance this obligation.
Okay,
I know we got really used to interest rates in the 1s and 2s, but being in the 3s is probably more average over our history, at least the last 20 years. Before that, 4s and 5s and even 6s. But so I would doubt that we'll refinance this just because it's a relatively small amount of money, and the issuance costs, 10 years from now,
Right.
will make that difficult because it'll be an even smaller amount of money. So, but we do have that option available to us February 1st to 29. This issue is supported by tax levy. Ultimately, that levy is less than what we had originally programmed within our capital improvement plan that we had put together a year or two ago. So we think that that's a good outcome. Project costs are slightly lower. Our impact to taxpayers is a little bit less than what we were initially projecting. And so, ultimately, we're recommending the award of sale to Security Bank. The resolution that was in your packet was drafted by your bond counsel on your behalf, and ultimately it memorializes these terms and conditions that we've been talking about. But 15-year term, we use the Minnesota Rural Water Program that we assist in administering because it's negotiated lower issuance costs for us, for your bond attorney, and there's no paying agent or credit rating and some other costs. So the issuance costs are probably about half of what they would be on a competitor, which is a good thing as well. So,
Now, how many streets is this?
I can take care of that, Shannon.
there was a map.
Yeah, so this reflecting the award we had last week will cover Pheasant Run and that associated cul-de-sac with Pheasant Run, and then all of I'll say it's Lake Drive as well,
Then Lake Court?
and Lake Court, correct. So that is
not
what,
the stuff that people didn't want us to do.
yeah, but not Ponto Point.
Yes.
So Shannon's got a good memory.
Yeah.
These are authorized under a street reconstruction plan that we adopted. That reconstruction plan is required to issuance bonds under this authority. The vote on this requires a 2/3 majority vote because of the type of bond issue it is. So 2 out of 3 would have to vote in favor.
Okay.
Any other questions for Shannon? Shannon, do you have anything for us?
No, I thought it was a good result, particularly in the present environment, getting interest rate. I mean, a competitive sale would have taken us even longer to implement. We'd be just getting started now, and we'd be spending another month preparing documents, spending more money on issuance costs before we'd lock in a rate, and I think chances are rates will be higher a month from now, and so I think it's a good result.
And
Run me, or somebody, run me through the reconstruction process. I mean, as long as I'm concerned about the building that's gonna be happening up on Lake Court, especially, I don't know about.
yeah, I'm not sure, Shannon certainly isn't gonna have any knowledge of that, but we'll frame the project installation accordingly, and we'll let the builders know when we're gonna be doing this installation of the asphalt, so they can work accordingly to our schedule as well. It shouldn't be an issue, and it's a very short-term project in terms of.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
ask, is how many days or weeks, or aren't we looking at weeks, we're looking at days?
Right. It won't be weeks on end in one location. It'll be, there'll be a moving project, so it won't impact construction of that new home on Lake Court. Very minor
Okay.
implications.
Tom has a question?
If I understood you correctly, passage of this tonight is dependent upon 2 out of the 3 of us voting for it.
Yes.
So that being the case, I may abstain because the funding would be through Security Bank.
So Shannon, is it 2/3 of all council members or just those present or,
Those present,
okay.
and
Is this gonna be assessed to each homeowner?
Let Shannon finish that, and then I'll answer your question.
oh, I won't say it. I was going to give you legal advice, but I'll refrain.
Okay.
That would be as bad as me giving you advice on the construction timeline. So,
Okay. We'll forgo that legal advice then, but you're confident in the 2/3 vote
Yes.
versus
yeah, I
thirds
spoke
present?
with your bond counsel today on that
Yeah.
matter as well, and she confirmed that that was the case.
Well, it works out, yes, there's 3 of us.
Yep.
And then your question, Bonnie, regarding the assessments. There's no assessments associated with this project. This is funded through our general levy ultimately. And that, when I say general levy, ultimately our debt levy. Right, Shannon?
Spread over all taxpayers in the community in
Correct.
the same manner.
Nope.
Well, I'm looking for a motion if there are no further discussion or questions.
I'll make a motion to accept resolution R-22-14, general obligation street reconstruction note, providing for the issuance and sale of an $840,000 general obligation street reconstruction note series 2022A and levying a tax for the payment thereof.
We have a motion. I'm looking for a second, and I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Motion carried. Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to new business, and tonight we're going to go through the goals. Adam's going to give us a quarter update.
Sure. So as we have discussed in the past, or as we presented in the past, I'll give an overview on how our current priorities were selected, or that process, and then our process on presenting on these priorities and how we determine if we're successful within our priorities this evening. So a little background, the 2022 priorities are year-long goals designed to advance programs, projects, services as prioritized by the City Council. They're consistent with previous adopted plans, motions, resolutions, and ordinances. The priorities are meant to be outcome-based and used to measure the success of the projects and the staff. For a priority to be considered, it must be under the direct influence of the City Council and the city staff. The priorities are also used to direct city staff, city commissions, and consultants in their efforts on a day-to-day basis. On January, I believe it was 22nd, our city council met and we reviewed 40 proposed priorities or goals to accomplish in 2022. Of those 40 goals or priorities, the city council selected 15 to focus on here in 2022. Those 15 priorities were ultimately approved at the February 1st City Council meeting. Of those 15 priorities, 6 of them were automatically carried over from the previous year, meaning that the nature of the project, essentially it was in the progress of being completed, so the City Council decided to carry those over. And then on top of that, something unique this year than what we have done in the recent past, we selected 5 projects that we recognized as being projects that would take more than 1 year and likely take up to 5 years to accomplish. So they're just projects that the city staff continues to work on, but they're not identified in the 15 that we report on. Some of those projects include industrial park expansion, housing development options located within the city of Winsted, water meter replacement, understanding that that's a budgeting issue where we budget for a certain percent of the water meters replaced annually over the next 5 years. We're continuing to focus on making water quality improvements to Winsted Lake and looking for funding opportunities associated with that. So those are some of the projects, again, that aren't listed within our metric of 15 priorities for 2022, but are still, the city staff is still tasked with working toward improvements in those areas. The city staff reports the status of the city council priorities through a traffic light system. The priorities are identified as either green, yellow, red, or red on hold. You can see on the slide the description of each one of those indications. Ultimately, the goal of the reporting system is to allow the city council to make informed decisions regarding project timelines and resource allocations. Also, you knew this year we plan on revisiting these projects in July prior to us getting into our 2023 budgeting cycle, so we can better understand the progress of the projects and how that affects budget allocations for 2023. So now to look specifically at these 15 goals, we have traditionally reported against the matrix of city value statements. As you're aware, in 2009, the city council approved 5 different value statements along with its mission statement. This particular mix of goals is represented against those that matrix of value statements up on the screen, where we have 3 priorities focusing on fiscal responsibility. We have 6 priorities focusing within excellence and quality in the delivery of services. We have 2 priorities within the matrix of public trust, and we have 4 priorities within the value statement of leadership and planning. So again, that's how where our 15 goals or priorities are separated. So I'll look at some specific priorities, starting within the green area, or meaning they're on track compared to the first quarter milestone. Project number 5, and again, this isn't a priority number 5. It's not based on value 1 through 15, just happens to be number 5 on our list, is to finalize the plans and specifications and commence construction as part of the west taxi lane extension at the Winston Municipal Airport. Our quarter 1 milestone was to review and make a recommendation regarding plans and specifications at the February 14th City Council meeting. The council did approve those plans and specifications and authorized the lighting of bids on February 15th. We advertised those plans and specs for 3 weeks and ultimately awarded the project on March 15th. That project award was contingent on a grant application to the FAA. We are still in the process of working through that grant application. Right now, FAA does not agree with our justification for the project scope. They're asking us to reduce the project scope. So we're still working on that with our aviation engineer and the FAA regarding this project scope, and we'll bring updates to the city council throughout the second quarter on that. Project number 8 was develop plans to remove or replace certain equipment within our public works equipment fleet. The public works staff has analyzed their fleet specific to these 3 pieces of equipment. They have a plan in place and how they can eliminate this equipment less the snow blower. Previously, city staff had presented the fact that the snow blower would need to be replaced as part of removal of the backhoe from the fleet. That's no longer the case. We can keep our current snow blower and use it with our current equipment. So now we'll be bringing a recommendation to the city council to remove specifically just the backhoe and the jet vac or the sewer vacuum from the fleet. That will be coming up at an upcoming meeting regarding how we go about selling that equipment. Project number 14, develop a comprehensive plan for the redevelopment of Weinbeck Athletic Complex to better serve additional Winston residents. Our Q1 milestone was to solicit a quote from the city engineer for architectural design services and start preliminary design with the Park Commission and said architect. We have done that. We've discussed this extensively with the Park Commission. They have 2 specific amenities that they want to implement as phase 1 of this redevelopment project within the Weinbeck Athletic Complex, being redevelopment of the basketball courts, or relocation of the basketball courts as an amenity, and also the installation of pickleball courts within that park complex. So right now, we're working with Bolton and Mink and the architect regarding putting together that project scope, or based on that project scope, putting together a concept plan along with costs associated, et cetera, for budgeting purposes and ultimately, hopefully, implementation here in 2022. We have 3 projects within the yellow status, as I stated. The first one not listed here is specifically was planned to not be addressed as part of the first quarter in 2022, just due to administrative workload associated with the audit and year-end reporting. And that project was to review some of our personnel policies, specifically with the fire department and then with the rest of the staff as well. But project number 1 is to remediate the blight and dilapidated structures at 121 Baker Avenue East, and develop a plan to remove the structures as a city project and create this green space. So this is somewhat of an economic development project, or was hoped to be an economic development project where we could attract some sort of development to encompass the site, and then where the developer would have to do the demo, et cetera. Well, we have not been able to successfully attract a developer to this site. So right now, the city council has directed me to work on obtaining pricing and quotes on ultimately demoing the site. We're working on some of that with our building officials in terms of permitting of that, as well as receiving quotes on the asbestos and ultimate demo. I'm kind of combining this project with a different redevelopment project that we're working on as part of downtown redevelopment. So our quotes are going to kind of reflect that here in Q2. Project number 13 was to implement phase 1 of the plan to update or repair various sidewalk sections per the sidewalk inventory completed in 2019. Our Public Works Department has been reviewing that. The project's somewhat weather dependent, but they're confident in getting this project done in Q2, as long as we stick to First Street South. If we want to include Rosalie, as we've discussed in the past, then I'm recommending that we have some more public forum to discuss that with the residents, because we seem to be in opposition to that removal of that section of sidewalk. But if we want to stick with First Street South as kind of phase 1 of this project to see how it goes, then we're confident that we can get this done here in Q2 right away in May, ultimately is our goal. Moving on, the projects within red or red on hold. Right now, none of our projects are in that status. So with that being said, I would entertain any questions the city council may have regarding those 15 priorities. You should have a spreadsheet within your packet that gives a little bit more detail to any projects that I didn't specifically address within my presentation.
Any questions for Adam?
Thank you.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
The one thing I don't think the public understands is that these aren't just goals that are thought up with no achievable end in sight. We also use the goals when we do our employee reviews. Our employees are, if they're charged with the a goal, we expect that to be done. And if it's not done, then we obviously expect to know about it, not at the time of the review, but prior to the review. And that's why Adam's reporting on these goals each quarter.
Yes.
Thanks, Adam.
Yep.
If there's no questions for Adam, we'll move on to the next item, which was added. It's item B under new business. It's a lien release property on 24108 Grass Lake Road. Adam?
Sure. On April 3rd, the city council received a letter from the property owner at 24108 Grass Lake Road regarding a lien release, or a lien the city of Winston has on his property associated with a previous economic development grant/loan that was issued to the property owner in association with his business that has since had bankruptcy proceedings filed on the business. So as part of that loan, that economic development loan, there was a personal lien put on his personal property back in 2005. The city council seen some legal opinion from the city attorney back in 2010, and it was understood that that lien was going to be released back in 2010. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. So now the property owner has come to find out that the lien was never released per previous discussions or previous opinion of the city attorney. So now he's come back to the city council to have that lien released. So that's the discussion that we had this evening during work session for the city council to officially act on it and needed to be added to the agenda. So is there any other discussion regarding this lien release with the city council?
We do have a letter of decision from our city attorney.
Letter of opinion, yes.
Okay.
Ultimately, the city attorney at the time recommended against foreclosing on the loan, in that there wasn't enough equity in the property for the city council to foreclose on the loan. Our current opinion from the city attorney is that the state statute, or we've passed the statute of limitations regarding foreclosing on the loan, so we don't have any ability to foreclose on it at this point from a legal standpoint. So he is recommending that we release the lien per the request of the property owner.
Okay.
You have anything?
Nope.
Okay, we're looking for a motion then?
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to approve the mayor and city administrator to sign a lien removal release document against the property of 24108 Grass Lake Road that will be prepared by the city's attorney with all legal fees associated with the lien release, subject to be paid by Mr. Joe Raymer.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. We've come to the the organization report, and tonight McLeod County Commissioner and McLeod County Economic Development Coordinator Liz. You guys want to grab a chair and pop up there?
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you. Don't drop it. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
You do this without dropping everything.
Thank you.
Does she get to talk too?
She may talk instead of me. We'll see how this is going to go.
Looks like you're having some issues with your voice, Schmaltz.
Thanks. Contact information.
Okay, thanks, Liz, for passing that out. I'm Nathan Schmaltz, McLeod County Commissioner, District 1, which serves the townships of Bergen, Winsted, and Hale Township, the cities of Lester Prairie, Winsted, and Silver Lake. I'm excited to be with you tonight. I appreciate the invitation. I do apologize for my voice tonight, and I don't want to say too much more about it. I mean, we all deal with colds, and my voice was doing pretty good yesterday, but today not so good. And I was thinking, well, I'm gonna kid Mayor George a little bit. I think if we still had the Winston Community Choir running, I think I could stand with him and sing the bass line tonight. So Mayor would get a kick out of that. Anyway, thanks for the invitation. I do have to give credit for the outline tonight to Sheila. When you asked for an organizational report, of course, I said, Sheila, what do you want to present? And she said, well, what do you want to present? So I said, I gave Sheila some topics, and luckily her eloquent art went into, formulating the verbiage that we see here. So credit to Sheila on putting this document together. Recognition of Winston for contributions and growth to McLeod County. It's the first thing that came to my mind is the contribution that you, the city of Winston, makes to McLeod County. Winston continues to be a progressive and balanced community. Winston's focus on smart growth and making their city a great place to live and work is a benefit to the entire county and surrounding communities. Further, we'd like to recognize Adam for what he does as the city administrator of Winston. Adam contributes greatly throughout McLeod County to assure his city is connected and supportive. Adam participates on several relevant committees and work groups with the county. His dedication and support is beneficial and appreciated. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
I'm going to skip over the next paragraph because I think it's important to save the best for last. So we'll skip Liz's introduction and I'll continue down. ARPA funds update. You probably know, Adam certainly knows, with the discussions on distribution of ARPA funds. Over 1.8 million of the McLeod County's nearly 7 million allocation was recently approved by the county board to be used for armor radio purchases at all of our public safety agencies in McLeod County, including Winston's police and fire departments. We are grateful for the support of our agencies throughout this process and pleased to provide this support that will have a positive impact for all our cities and our townships. The radios will likely arrive in approximately 10 months. One thing I want to add, when we've talked about ARPA funds, I'm not on the ARPA committee, so I probably, I'm not privileged to have the greatest information that's being discussed. But Sheila's point from the very beginning was sustainability. Using these funds that would be sustainable, for everyone, for every citizen in McLeod County. And I believe that, the funding of the armor radio certainly qualifies that as a legitimate expenditure. So just wanted to add that sustainability component, and I give Sheila credit for that language. That was her message from the beginning. So we support that ideal that Sheila is bringing forward. County Road 1 and County Road 5 upcoming work. When we talk about our roadways, I kind of like to come up with the phrase corridors of commerce. Corridors of commerce is the language that I use when I've met with some of our federal senators and legislators. That's the language they like to hear. Same thing at the state level when I meet with our senators and our representatives. A corridor of commerce is language that they tune into. 212 is identified as a corridor of commerce, and you can see that we're finally getting there. We're finally getting that 4-lane coming out all the way to Norwood. They're in phase 1 right now, which is the eastern phase, and then phase 2 will be the final phase coming from Cologne to Norwood. Again, corridors of commerce. We look at State Highway 5 as a corridor of commerce and the upgrades that's desperately needed by the Arboretum. I look at Highway 7 as a corridor of commerce. I look at Highway 12 as a corridor of commerce. So bringing that back to, a county level and a level that we can understand, I look at County Road 1 as a corridor of commerce. And it benefits, not just commerce, it benefits our families that use the road daily, our students that go to school, our moms and dads and grandpas who attend school events. So when we talk about upgrading a highway, I always say I'm very sympathetic to safety. And I try to put that first. And if we can improve the safety on our roads, I'm always going to be very favorable to those improvements. For this summer now, we've got the white topping, that's the concrete over the blacktop, scheduled to start on the very southern end of McLeod County on County Road 1. That white topping will terminate this year just southwest of Lester Prairie, where the road, right where it's County Road 22 actually is the intersection, but terminating there. And it was a little bit of a mystery of why they were terminating there in this phase. Well, it was because of the upcoming construction that is planned for the roundabout on Highway 7 and County Road 1. It made no sense to bring our construction all the way up to Highway 7 until we get the roundabout installed. So that's the next thing I wanted to bring up was the roundabout. We are scheduled to do the roundabout, County Road 1 and Highway 7 next year, 2023. It's an intersection that my family uses several times each day, and I think we can all agree that it's long overdue and much anticipated to save lives, to save time that our emergency service is spending out there. We've had a really bad stretch, this past half a year on Highway 7. And, I don't know what better message I can deliver, but we need more attentive driving. That's the common factor when we look at these accidents and why they happen. It's the lack of attentive driving. So let's remind each other, remind our children and our grandchildren, how to be a responsible driver and how to avoid some of these accidents. And then along with next year's County Road 1 and Highway 7 roundabout is our County Road 5 extension. I'm sure that, you've done a lot of work on getting that to where it is today, along with the county, and we all look forward to that improvement coming about next year. And then as we look to the future, we look at when are we going to finish County Road 1. Well, for now, County Road 1 to finish from that spot southwest of Lester Prairie, coming northward to Wright County, is scheduled for 2025. There's a coordination that we're implementing with Wright County on when that's getting done. The coordination will coordinate that the road gets concrete all the way into Howard Lake. So if we're patient, I think we'll have some time to work through that and hopefully come up with a good result, with the coordination of Wright County and McLeod County on that project. The county isn't immune to staffing and staffing needs. We have a few openings. I think that, from what I hear anyway, we're not desperate. We are getting people coming on board amazingly. So I just want to make people aware of that the county does run ads on their website and in the papers on looking for help, and all help is appreciated when it comes to placing people, in the right place at the right time. I wanted to talk about notable staffing changes that are occurring this coming year. Retirement of our longtime county attorney, Mike Young. I believe Mike is in his 38th year, maybe even his 39th year with McLeod County. And we truly appreciate the dedication that he has given to McLeod, and he will leave a very big hole to fill. His experience is unmatched. So we'll look forward to, putting someone in place there that will be an elected position. There has been person, I think, from Mike's office that have stepped up and announced that they were interested in running in that position. So we'll see what comes of that. County Recorder Lynette Schrupp announced her retirement early this year. I think Lynette's been with us for 36 years. Again, a very valuable employee to the county, and we will miss her. But at the same time, with Lynette's retirement, it opened the door for us to look at the position. Many years ago, when we looked at consolidating position, a decision was made at the county board level on when to bring this to the table, and it was decided that the right timing to do this is when we have a vacancy or a retirement in a position. Well, with Lynette's exit and her currently being an elected position, now we followed state statute and we're looking at doing an appointed position there. So we did hold public hearings. When we did the public hearing, we had no negative comments. So that's what the county is pursuing, is appointing the position after Lynette exits. Redistricting update. Well, being the state legislature, probably isn't going to agree on anything, and they certainly don't agree on, redrawing district boundaries. It was left up to the courts. And the courts, whether you like it or not, were the ones who came up with the plan on redistricting. At the county level, we're fortunate. We have no changes proposed at the county level. They use several criteria at the county level to see how our 5 districts are aligning up with state statute, and we're fortunate that we still are within all the boundaries that are called out in state statute, and no changes at the county level. At the state level, tremendous. I call it a pretty big change. If you're not aware of it, splitting McLeod County, I call us the east now, and west as far as our legislative district is going to be quite a change. So something we'll all have to absorb and deal with here moving forth. The Senate district keeps McLeod County intact for the most part. So again, and then with moving people around, we all know that Glenn put his name in for Scott Newman's position. Scott decided to retire from his Senate seat after serving us, and we appreciate the dedication that Scott has given. Scott's always been very easy to approach and very attentive on listening to the needs and our concerns. So we will miss Scott, but at the same time, we support his decisions at this time in his life. And then lastly, I wanted to, when I got the invitation, I was excited because the first thing I did was I said, Liz, I want to bring you along when I address the Winston City Council. I think it's important. I remember Councilor Stutko telling me that economic development, that's what we're really looking for here. And I think this is a pretty big step that the county has made in improving this situation. I really value economic development. Our district, I believe, is just situated so well, being we're basically 2 or 3 miles from Carver County. I think I see nothing but good coming of this. I think where Liz fits in my mind, is for our smaller cities. Maybe Glencoe has 1.5 positions already dedicated to economic development. Maybe Hutchinson has 2. But we know that Silver Lake doesn't have the resources. Lester Prairie doesn't have the resources. Adam is a resource here. And, but hopefully bringing Liz on board will help our small cities, help Plato, help Biskie, help Broughton, get this group together and work on economic development. if we can, increase our economic base, it's all good. And I just think we're just ripe with expansion, whether it's, the industry that Winston brings, the homes, the people we will attract. It will happen. So we just have to be patient and wait for that opportunity, and hopefully with Liz on board, we can push this along to where it could and should be. At this time, I'll just ask you if you have questions for me, and then after that, I want you to introduce you to Liz, our new economic development coordinator. Yeah, Bonnie.
I'd like to know approximately how long that roundabout will take.
For construction,
Yes.
I can't tell you the exact time frame of how long it'll take. I would only be guessing, but I'm guessing it'll take 2 to 3 months of the summer season. I mean, they usually take their time with these things. I'd be surprised, and I'm really thoroughly just guessing.
That's okay. I thought it was gonna be longer than that.
No, based on our initial meetings, it could be even a little less than that. We're gonna try to plan a little bit around Winstock the best we can. Work with MnDOT on that, but yeah, hopefully not more than 2 or 3 months. Sir.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I know that there's been some discussion with the township,
Yeah,
both townships, maybe with the cities as well,
yeah,
on how to route traffic,
yeah,
and especially, with the needs that the golf course has there.
yeah.
So,
I think that's all pretty well ironed out now with MnDOT and the governments, like you mentioned.
And I totally agree with you with the attentive driving on 7 and 1. It's a straight. I don't get it.
It's not just 7 and 1. It's all roads.
I know.
I mean, we lost a life at County Road 33 last week, and accidents happen. So we just have to keep that message going. We need attentive driving. That's really the one factor. I mean, I take calls from people who live along Highway 7. I live along Highway 7. How can we make it a safer road? I don't know how, other than we just gotta keep preaching attentive driving. Don't be looking at cell phones. Leave them alone. Put them where you can't see them. So that's the message we need to keep delivering. Thanks for that question, Bonnie.
Well, Mr. Commissioner, I'd like to commend you for visiting with us as often as you do, because that's not necessarily been the case in the past. And I think it's important that we have a dialogue between you and our council. And so that I can see if I can get you to lose your voice, what, from your concept of being a county commissioner before the election to today, how's that changed, if at all?
My concept and ideals haven't really changed. When I ran, I never ran thinking that I wanted to change. It wasn't about change. It was about serving, the people that I represent. So I'm trying to be attentive to that and listen. The first year was a really steep learning curve. I think now, in my second year, I'm feeling more like I belong. I still am not privy to some of the committee things that go on in other committees, nor are other commissioners privy to the committees I serve on. I knew that we'd have committee assignments. I just didn't know that my committee assignments would fill a full page. So lots of committee assignments, but when you think about the committees we serve on, there's a reason we're serving on those committees and on those joint powers boards. It's bringing dollars into our economy, into McLeod County. We're levying something like, I think this past year was $25 million in taxes. But, we're probably distributing about $52 million worth. And that extra money comes from our joint powers boards and serving on those and making those decisions. Some of these joint powers boards, like Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, some of these are like 13 counties. Some are 20 counties that we cooperate with cooperate with, and make these decisions. And a lot of these are funded through grants. When I look at the cost of what it takes to operate a government, what it takes to do a street project or a road project today, my message is keep working hard on the grants, because we don't want to be taxing our citizens to foot the bill, on all these. We can't. We aren't going to be able to afford them, especially in the future. So that's another message I like to share is, look for those grants, try to secure those grants. I think it's been proven that if you have good grant writing, it'll pay for itself without a doubt. So let's keep working that angle as well. Thanks for that question. Any other questions for me before I give you the best part of our presentation?
I don't have a question, but I do think that over the last maybe 5 to 10 years, I think the county's maturing as far as recognizing there's more to the county than Hutch and Glencoe. And I think that's gone a long way to help the eastern part of the county. And I think with the staff, commissioners, and the administrator, I think just our time that we've been up there, I think we've always been treated with, I wouldn't say respect, but one of the guys, one of the groups. So we haven't not felt that we were on the outside looking in. I think we've been more embraced, I guess is the right word. So, but I think that's as a combination. It's a two-way street. It's the commissioners, and I think it's our council that is trying to do that. And I think I noticed that there's a big change. And I think it's a good change.
And I will agree with your statement. I mean, when I look at decisions we make at county board, I want to understand, the topics. I want my other commissioners to understand the topics as well. We're not always going to agree, but I represent District 1 first. And after that, we're making decisions for 37,000 plus residents of McLeod County. So, and I think they do recognize, like I stated at the beginning, they do recognize the contribution. They're starting to recognize how different we are on the northeast part of McLeod County versus the south and the west part of McLeod County. We're very different. So I hope they can value that or value that message, that I bring to them. And we are working together very well. I mean, I have no sense of it's a Hutch thing or it's a Glencoe thing or we're trading this for that. It's not what it's about. It's about making those good decisions. And I'll keep working towards that. And like always, I'm glad that I can be invited in here and address you. And if you ever have something we can discuss, I want to hear it. I do want a better connection between county government and what's happening in our cities, in our townships. I said that when I ran, and I'm going to keep working hard at making that come about. So thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now what I'd like to do is introduce Liz Danielson as our new McLeod County Economic Development Coordinator. Liz is not new to the county. Liz has proved herself. I don't know, Liz, are we talking about 3+ years now?
Yep, just over 3 years.
Okay, 3+ years with the county. She was Sheila's administrative assistant prior to this position. So we know we've got the right person, at the right place at the right time now with Liz. And let's all take advantage of this and hopefully, the experience that Adam has, the experience that Glencoe and Hutch can bring. Let's get this going. Let's get it to the table. And I think, if we do that, if we keep the communication going, we'll see this as a great improvement and a success for Liz as well as economic development in McLeod County. Liz.
Thank you. Commissioner Smalls covered some of the things that I was going to bring up, so I'll try not to be repetitive. But he asked me to come with tonight just to introduce myself as the Economic Development Coordinator. I know Councilor Statko from working together on a committee at the county, and Adam as well from a couple different committees. But my name is Liz Danielson, and as Commissioner Smalls mentioned, I've worked with the county for a little over 3 years. I'm just getting started in this new role as Economic Development Coordinator. I would say prior to working at the county, I worked as a commercial real estate developer in Minneapolis for about 6 years, and I did primarily redevelopment projects, a lot of mixed use, multifamily, and retail projects. And I really enjoyed doing that, but my family and I decided to relocate further west here where we are now to be closer to my husband's family, and that led me to the county. I attended the University of Minnesota and got my bachelor's degree in urban studies. And as I just mentioned, now I live in Hutchinson currently with my husband, and I have 3 little boys as well that keep me pretty busy. So I've been working mostly this spring on just transitioning into this new role. We hired my replacement, and they started about 2 weeks ago, so we're getting him oriented into the position, and now I'm able to get more into some of the economic development efforts. But in this meantime, the past couple of months, I've been able to attend a few different trainings and conferences, a couple different meetings with cities and townships. I've met with a group of, it's Adam and the economic development roles with Glencoe and Hutchinson as well. That's been great, but essentially I'll be working with the county board, the county administrator, and we have a county economic development committee as well that Adam serves on. So I'll be working with him in that capacity too. But I see my role, in addition to what Commissioner Smalls mentioned, as being just like a connector to all the resources throughout the county and trying to spread the economic development efforts more countywide. You know, some of the townships and the smaller cities don't have a dedicated staff member to economic development, and I'm hoping to be able to help them in that capacity, but also help people who do have, or the cities that do have that position in place. I'll be able to help support Adam in his efforts, be the connection with the county at that level, and also one example that we talked about is I'll be attending a conference at the end of this month with DEED, and hopefully bringing back some information that Adam's looking at for some of the stuff that you guys have got going on here in Winstead. So if there's any other way that you see that I could support you, please reach out directly to me. I passed out my contact information for each of you. You could also go through Adam. I think Adam and I will be probably meeting pretty regularly between the committee that we're going to be both working on, and also just some regular monthly meetings that we have kind of planned out. But thank you very much, and if you have any questions, you could ask me tonight or whenever you think of them.
I would like to see you come back later in the fall
Yeah, absolutely.
and tell us what you've learned and how you feel your role should work with the communities.
Yes, I can absolutely do that.
I agree with that. I like that idea.
Because it's kind of, you're new, and it's be a little unfair to ask some tough questions today.
I'm not afraid to say I don't know the answer, but I can always follow up with.
Well, we don't know
What
know
I
the
find
question.
I just want to add, I'm really excited that the county has taken this step, made this investment into economic development. They made an investment in putting together a plan first, and it's a fantastic plan. And they made the second investment, the most important investment, in staffing this department. It's going to make a big impact on the way McLeod County grows. It's going to lead to a lot of smart growth. It's going to lead to a diverse tax base. And those are all good things for not only McLeod County, but also for the city of Winstead. It will certainly provide us resources as well as a city, and Liz will be that resource. And I'm very excited about it. Liz is going to be fantastic. So we as a city should be very excited about this, certainly.
Good luck.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
We've come to the open forum section of the meeting tonight. If anybody has anything they want to address to the council, up, state your name and address. I mean, not seeing anybody. City administrator updates and announcements, Adam?
Sir, just a couple quick items. Our city staff will be doing water hydrant flushing starting tomorrow through Friday. No matter what the weather is, they'll be getting that activity done. So be mindful of that flushing of water hydrants, because that could lead to stirring up the water a little bit and iron being deposited into your home lines then, because that's stirring up the water. So if you're doing a wash or something like that, be mindful of that additional iron in the water. So maybe don't do whites.
Don't wash whites.
Don't wash whites in the next 3 days. Let that water settle back out. Hopefully we address that with the water treatment facility in the next 5 years. Spring cleanup, we have scheduled a citywide spring cleanup for Saturday, April 30th from 8 a.m. till noon. That deposit location will be at Waste Management. Each parcel or resident can bring up to 5 items to Waste Management to be disposed of. And then lastly, I will be out of the office starting tomorrow through Monday. So if you have any immediate needs, please drop me an email. I'll be trying to connect via email. Otherwise, contact the city staff and they can connect to me or answer the questions as needed.
Any questions for Adam? Tom, do you have anything?
I do not.
Bonnie?
No.
For
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.